Good evening and welcome to NewsNight. Tonight we'll have all your international, national, and local news. I'm Leslie Krebs.
And I'm Brendan McNamara. With the presidential election less than a year away, Iowa has finished their caucus to determine the Republican nominee. We'll have the results for you tonight.
And our own Pittsburgh Steelers faced off against the Buffalo Bills for their first playoff game in the postseason. Stay tuned to hear who won and what it means for the team.
All this and more coming up on NewsNight.
This past Sunday, Denmark crowned a new king after reigning Queen Margrethe II formally abdicated the throne. The new queen announced on New Year's Eve that she would be abdicating due to health issues, as she most recently underwent major back surgery last year. This came as a complete surprise to many, including Denmark's Prime Minister Mette Frederiksen. This is the first time a Danish royal has abdicated in nearly 900 years. The last case happened in 1146 when King Erik III Lam abdicated to enter a monastery. Queen Margrethe left the throne the same day she ascended after the death of her father, King Frederick IX, in 1972. Most Danish royals live out their title till they die, with them being placed upon the next in line, in this case her son Frederick X. This is also the first royal succession in over 50 years that wasn't due to the death of a royal family member. This abdication also now leaves Denmark with two queens. Queen Margrethe will keep her title and King Frederick's wife will become Queen Mary. The couple's son, Christian, will then become crown prince and the heir to the throne. Denmark's royal family is one of the oldest in the world and the oldest in Europe. It dates back to the 10th century Viking king, Gorm the Old. Today, the monarch and family are mostly ceremonial, as Denmark is a democratic country. Frederick was crowned by the Prime Minister alongside his family on the balcony of the palace for everyone to see. Danish citizens are hopeful for the new monarch and have high opinions of the couple. Many believe Frederick and his wife were ready to ascend the throne. Others are happy the new Australian-born queen was raised outside a royal family and instead had a middle-class upbringing. For now, the new king remains hopeful, saying, quote, "My hope is to become a unifying king of tomorrow. It is a task I've approached all my life. I want to return the trust I meet. I need trust from my beloved wife, you, and that which is greater than us." End quote.
A massive fire tore through a warehouse in St. Petersburg, Russia on Saturday, sending intense flames and thick black smoke into the sky. According to Russia's Ministry of Emergency Situations, nearly 300 firefighters, along with dozens of fire engines, as well as helicopters, worked to put out the blaze as workers fled to safety. The owner of the warehouse, Wildberries, released a statement saying all of its staff had been evacuated and no one was injured. However, the media outlet Baza wrote on its Telegram channel that 2 people were hospitalized as they struggled to escape the fast-moving blaze. Another Russian news outlet, Nexta, reported that the damage from the fire could amount to 11 billion rubles, or about $122 million US. According to the preliminary data, the fire alarm went off around 4:20 a.m., and some workers had to jump from second or third-story windows due to a rush at the emergency exit. According to the state-run news agency TASS, it is not immediately clear what sparked the fire.
Scientists associated with the National Grid's Viking project focused on constructing an underground interconnector between the United Kingdom and Denmark. They have unearthed 50 archaeological sites since 2020. One of these discoveries is an Anglo-Saxon cemetery, which could possibly date back to the 6th century. Other finds included the remains of at least 20 people, jewelry, pottery vessels, and knives. One of the most noteworthy finds was the body of a teenage girl and a child. The relationship has yet to be determined, but the remains were found tucked together. Research such as ancient DNA analysis is underway to analyze the findings. Taiwan just held an election for its top government positions, which results that could see impacts across the entire Southeast Asia region. Reporter Logar Abdis has more on this important election. Logar.
Taiwanese voters raced to the polls on January 13th in a crucial election for the nation's presidency, vice presidency, and legislative body. Despite a population of only 23.5 million people, Taiwan's elections hold global importance due to its disputed political status as a recognized state. The island and surrounding territories, while formally claimed by the mainland Chinese Communist Party, has thrived under a new democracy introduced 30 years ago. This election highlighted differences in communication strategies with mainland China between the three frontrunner candidates and their parties. Taipei Mayor Ho Yui, the candidate representing the conservative and Beijing-friendly Kuomintang, faced off with U.S.-friendly incumbent Vice President Lai Ching-te of the Democratic Progressive Party. New to the race this year is the smaller, more moderate Taiwan People's Party, with party founder and former Taipei Mayor Ko Wen-je entering his bid for the presidency. However, voters returned the Democratic Progressive Party to power for the third straight election as Lai Ching-te earned 40.1% of the popular vote. Voters resonated with the party's focus on asserting a stronger Taiwanese identity while also deepening ties with other democratic states worldwide. Only time will tell how mainland China reacts to this victory. In the past, Beijing has staged military exercises and protests during key times, such as then U.S. Speaker of the House Nancy Pelosi's visit to Taiwan in August of 2022. These threats have not stopped Taiwan from upholding its democracy in the past, however. During the first presidential election in 1996, missiles fired into the Taiwan Strait did not discourage voters from electing the pro-Taiwan candidate Lee Teng-hui, who was a leader in the development of the nation's democracy.
Thank you, Loger. South Africa is taking a stand against Israel in a two-day hearing at the International Court of Justice, accusing them of genocide for their actions in Gaza. The specific conflict stated that the events on October 7th, where members of the South African government pointed out Israel's alleged mass killings of Palestinian citizens, the amount nearing 24,000. Multiple countries, including Brazil, Turkey, and Pakistan, have shown public support for South Africa's efforts. However, Israel is denying all accusations, claiming that they have the right to defend themselves from the terrorist organization Hamas, which has taken nearly 250 hostages and killed 1,200 citizens. Coming up after the break, hear about Harvard's continued controversy involving anti-Semitism. Plus, we'll update you on a story we previously covered on a Colorado funeral home. Stay with us.
Back in October of 2023, 190 bodies were found in various states of decomposition at the Return to Nature funeral home in Penrose, Colorado. FBI investigators report walking into the building and being faced with, quote, stacks of partially covered human remains, bodily fluids several inches deep on the floor, and flies and maggots throughout the building, end quote. Among human remains, animal remains were also reportedly found, as well as bags of concrete. These were sent to several relatives instead of the deceased's real ashes. FBI agent Andrew Cohen reported that, quote, 23 of the bodies had death dates from 2019 and 61 were from 2020, end quote. Cohen also reported that among adult remains, infants and fetuses were also discovered. FBI investigators have been able to identify many of the remains belonging to the families with the use of dental records, DNA, fingerprints, and medical hardware. Several dozen sets of remains are still waiting to be identified. In November, owners Carrie and John Halford were arrested in Oklahoma after attempts to flee Colorado. Both were accused of abusing corpses, laundering money, stealing, and forging documents over the course of several years at Return to Nature. Both were charged with 190 counts of abuse of a corpse, more than 50 counts of forgery, 5 counts of theft, and 4 counts of money laundering. The Halfords were reportedly facing increasing financial pressure, leading them to plan to sell their assets to cover their finances. Texts also revealed they were planning various methods to rid themselves of the bodies, such as setting them afire and burning them, as well as burying them in a large hole and covering them with lye. Carrie Halford and her attorney Michael Stasinski were questioning what cell phone data prosecutors found that could lead to Carrie working alongside her husband. Meanwhile, John Halford remains in custody at the El Paso County Jail with his bond lowered from $2 million to $100,000. The trial is still ongoing and both Halfords are awaiting sentences.
With the first presidential race of the season now over, all attention is turning to the next race in New Hampshire. Donald Trump decisively won the Iowa caucuses on Monday, with his rivals falling far behind. It is not immediately clear whether Nikki Haley or Florida Governor Ron DeSantis will claim runner-up. These results are only the first of what will be a months-long effort by Trump to secure the Republican nomination for the third consecutive time. His victory sends a message to the Republican Party that the nomination is his to lose. President Biden, meanwhile, has announced that the Democratic National Committee raised more than $97 million in the last quarter of 2023, while finishing the year with more than $117 million in the bank. DeSantis and Haley are competing to be the alternative to Trump, while Vivek Ramaswamy announced he is suspending his campaign.
Texas Governor Greg Abbott has taken control of a public park in the town of Eagle Pass in a move to help combat the growing southern border crisis. The Texas National Guard moved into Shelby Park last Wednesday night without permission of the town's local mayor, Rolando Salinas. In a video posted to Facebook, Salinas said, quote, "This is not something that we wanted. This is not something we asked for as a city. I want to make that clear," end quote. The state's Department of Public Safety has faced some criticism for this action, with them responding by citing the governor's border-related disaster declaration as allowance for this action. They have also previously argued that the declaration allows them to use people's private property without their permission. Last December, as many as 12,000 migrants crossed into the city, and while that number has gone down, DPS will continue to stay in the park to, quote, "prepare for future illegal immigrant surges," end quote.
One of the nation's biggest universities is being sued due to allegedly allowing harassment against some of its students. Reporter Logar Abdis has more on this story. Logar?
6 Jewish students attending Harvard University filed a lawsuit against the institution last Wednesday. The complaint, which claims that the university acts as a, quote, bastion of rampant anti-Jewish hatred and harassment, end quote, follows others filed after the October 7th Hamas attacks in Israel. Mobs of pro-Hamas students and faculty have marched by the hundreds through Harvard's campus, according to the lawsuit, promoting violence against Jews and harassing and insulting them on campus. Several organizations on campus were named when documenting anti-Semitic incidents, including Harvard Out of Islamic Palestine, the Harvard Islamic Society, and the Harvard Undergraduate Palestine Solidarity Committee. Mark Kasowitz, a partner at one of the 2 law firms involved with the suit, Kasowitz Benson Torres, stated that the complaint was necessary as Harvard would not, quote, correct its deep-seated anti-Semitism problem voluntarily, end quote. A spokesman for Harvard University stated that the school does not comment on pending litigation when asked about the lawsuit. This complaint comes after the presidents of Harvard University, University of Pennsylvania, and MIT were asked to testify in front of Congress last December about campus anti-Semitism in response to the Hamas attacks. The hearing ultimately led to the resignation of President Claudine Gay at Harvard.
An Arctic storm has been sweeping the United States, with nearly 25 million people in east and central states facing weather alerts and temperatures as low as -45 degrees. The alerts are calling for severe thunderstorms, flooding, blizzard conditions, and wind gusts up to 45 miles per hour. Hundreds of thousands are also witnessing severe power outages and snow up to 21.3 inches in places like Des Moines, Iowa. Make sure to stay tuned for the end of the show, where we'll give you a weather update to see how Pittsburgh's weather will be affected by the end of this Arctic storm. Coming up, find out how a local coffee shop may have shut its doors due to the employees' union plans. Also hear about how Point Park has rescheduled one of its most important dates of the year. Don't go away, you won't want to miss this.
It's a tough crowd.
Ada Coffee and Tea House, a coffee chain native to Pittsburgh, announced this past Thursday on their social media that they'll be closing all their locations. Ada Coffee had locations in downtown Pittsburgh, Garfield, North Side, and Shady Side. The company gave its reasoning for closing on its post saying, quote, "Sadly, we have been operating at a loss since the beginning, which has been exacerbated by the pandemic. We tried to stay optimistic and have been consistently reevaluating our business model in our efforts to keep fulfilling our mission. Despite everyone's best efforts, our monetary reserves are depleted and we need to close our doors." End quote. Others aren't buying the story. Many believe this abrupt closing was a direct result of employees announcing their efforts to form a union the day before Ada Coffee announced its closing. Their attempts to form a union began in December of 2022. Employees wanted better pay and more consistent work schedules, a common goal many unions are hoping to achieve. The workers received the announcement via an email sent by management saying they were fired and would receive payment up until the 21st of January. Ada Coffee made no mention of the unionization efforts in any of their posts or reasonings for closing. Many are taking to social media and leaving comments accusing Ada Coffee of union busting, leaving a sour taste in many people's mouths. This unfortunately is not the first time a local business has gone under as the result of labor efforts and unions forming. In 2017, Amazing Cafe, located in Southside, closed after workers striked for a day outside the business. As recently as 2019, Taza de Oro closed after workers began to form a union. Both businesses never reopened and claimed their reasoning for closing to be money loss. As for now, as many as 30 employees are out of a job and continuing their fight for union rights.
The Monongahela Incline has had its fair share of troubles recently. Operated by Pittsburgh Regional Transit, the incline shuttles riders up and down Mount Washington and is a critical link to Station Square. It was closed on January 2nd due to multiple electrical and mechanical issues that prevented the cars from stopping at the stations. On Friday, the agency announced that the contractor found additional problems unrelated to the original issues. In 2022, the incline had an $8.1 million refurbishment that upgraded the operating system. Since the incline was built in 1870 and is the oldest operating funicular railroad in America, it has been rehabilitated and upgraded multiple times. The system carries about 600,000 passengers a year, about half of them tourists. During the closure, the agency has been operating a shuttle bus between Grandview Avenue on Mount Washington and East Carson Street on the south side.
Due to, quote, unforeseen circumstances, the spring 2024 undergraduate commencement and graduate hooding ceremony dates have been moved. The original graduation date was Saturday, April 27th, and has now been moved to the Friday before graduation is still at PPG Paints Arena. Keith Palo, Dean of Students and Vice President of Student Affairs, made this announcement in an email last Wednesday. While it is unclear what exactly the unforeseen circumstances are, there is a Tim McGraw concert at 7 p.m. on the original graduation date. McGraw's standing room only tour was announced last July, while Point Park's academic calendar for 2023 through 2024 was released in 2022. The last day of finals will be held on this new graduation date, and seniors are to consult with their professors for any conflicts. The graduate hooding ceremony will start at 9 a.m. and the undergraduate commencement will start at 12:30 p.m.
This past Monday was a busy day for Pittsburgh sports. The Pittsburgh Penguins took on the Seattle Kraken at PPG Paints Arena at 1 o'clock, which ended with the Penguins shutting out the Kraken 2-0. The puck was originally supposed to drop at 6 o'clock Monday, but it was pushed forward due to the change in the Steelers' schedule. Kickoff for the Pittsburgh Steelers wildcard game against the Buffalo Bills was originally scheduled for Sunday at 4 o'clock. However, due to heavy snowfall in the Buffalo area, the NFL postponed the game until 4 o'clock on Monday. That game, unfortunately, did not end in Pittsburgh's favor and ultimately ended the Steelers' season, falling to the Bills 31-17. After the break, hear about what miraculous feat a woman did to save a life. Plus, stay tuned to hear the chilling Pittsburgh weather update. All this and more coming up after the break. Stay
An unidentified woman from Shandong was able to thaw a kitten using only a hairdryer. The little kitty was found during a snowstorm in eastern China. The woman found the kitten outside and took her in. The little critter was frozen stiff, but still alive. She nursed it back to health with towels and a hairdryer. After successfully nursing the kitten back to health, the woman decided to adopt the frozen feline. The kitten was named Mimi and is now perfectly healthy. Winter has come into full effect to welcome us back to Point Park for the so-called spring semester. Weather reporter Catherine Greisinger is here with us to tell us if the cold is here to stay or if warm weather is in our future. Catherine?
Thank you, Leslie. It's been a frigid week for all of us here in Pittsburgh, and the next couple of days are not going to give us much relief. Looking at tomorrow, the temperature is going to stay just below freezing, reaching a high of 30 degrees right around midday. However, with the wind chill, it's going to feel more like the mid-20s to as low as the high teens. We'll start to see some snowfall as people head to their 9:40 classes, and that'll continue through to the afternoon, before finishing up at around 4 p.m., totaling around an inch of snow. That won't be the last of the snow we see, though. Friday's going to hit us with as much as 3 inches of snow, creating some icy conditions as people walk and drive to class. Temperatures are also going to drop, reaching only 27 on Friday and 19 on Saturday, with a wind chill of 5 degrees. Heading out of the weekend, though, we'll finally start getting some relief from the frigid air. With the sun starting to come through on Sunday and temperatures finally getting above freezing on Monday, reaching a high of 37 degrees. Temperatures will continue to rise from there. It'll be 41 on Tuesday and get all the way to 53 next Wednesday, with some classic Pittsburgh clouds covering the sky all day. That's all I have for you this week. Now, back to the desk.
Thank you for tuning into this episode of NewsNight. If you want to see more, check out our social media pages on both Facebook and Instagram at UView Television.
You can also check out more episodes on our YouTube channel or our website, uview.pointpark.edu. I'm Brendan McNamara.
And I'm Leslie Krebs. From everyone here at NewsNight, thank you for watching and have a great evening.